Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and happy Friday, everyone. Happy freaking Friday. I don't know about y'all, but I've had a long ass week, right? So I am happy for it to be Friday. Two things before we start the show. Today is my sister's birthday, so I just want to wish my sister a very happy birthday. Unfortunately, she is in the hospital. Many of you know, my sister's been going through a lot of health issues. Turn up the mic. I'll turn up the mic audio. And she recently found out on Monday that she has MS. And now she's in the hospital because she has an abscess on her tonsils and she's pregnant. And so there's a lot going on there. Unfortunately, she'll be at the hospital the next 2 days instead of celebrating her birthday. But I still want to wish my sister a happy birthday because she is now 32. I actually started, what scares me the most is I started getting my physical health issues around the exact same age. I was 31 when they started going through the testing for me with MS and all of the other sort of stuff to rule in or rule out what the hell was going on with my body. And so it scares me for my other sister that, you know, when she gets to that age, she might deal with the exact same thing. So, you know, it's going to suck because she's in the hospital, and because, you know, when I talked to her this morning to call her to wish her a happy birthday with the kids, she could hear the like hoarseness in her throat. So I'm sure it hurts a lot. But I still wish my sister a very happy birthday. StreamYard better not be doing this today. I'm not in the mood for the buffering. Not in the mood for the buffering. Got a lot to go over, and I'm not dealing with the goddamn buffering. StreamYard. I can see it's only got 2 bars instead of 4. So what the hell is actually going on here? Sorry, guys. I'm just making sure that it's still connected and that it's not. What is happening on this? Apparently it is. It's just one of those weeks, Jesse. One of those weeks. Never mind days. Let's talk about weeks. It's one of those weeks. Nonetheless, I wish my sister a very happy birthday because she is now 32. I asked her this morning if she felt old. She said, "You feel old yet, girl?" Because I am 7 and 9 years older than my 2 sisters. My 2 younger sisters, and there's a huge age gap. So I'm the old lady. I'm the old fogey. You know, my birthday is not until November, but I'm the old fogey. But I'm like, "You feel old yet, bro? You feel old yet?" God, StreamYard is not all right. So I don't know if any of you guys saw, right? But I just want to take a second to, oh God, everything when I reset it on StreamYard literally went to buffering. What in the hell? This was something I showed you guys yesterday about the Fraser, or the day before yesterday on the Fraser Bone case, where Alan Jackson asked if they could reduce the bail again. The guy's bail was already reduced from $8 million to $4 million. He wanted it reduced from $4 million to $2 million so that they could, you know, pay Alan Jackson. And of course, the judge was like, everybody would love for me to reduce their bail again so they can hire an Alan Jackson. So no, that's not happening. But I'm trying to get up the, I don't know how many of you have seen. All right, you know what? We'll do that one later then. So I got word this morning. Yeah. So, I mean, let's be clear here with the Kelsey Fitz Simmons stuff. Like I made clear the other day, I don't think jail is the place where people get the best mental health treatment. You know, they can get treatment, but not the best, you know, because they're limited by what the jail will allow. I worked in a jail for the criminally insane. I know how that works. And what the jail won't allow. So there are certain medications jails don't allow. So the prisoners can't sell them, which becomes an ethics problem, in my opinion. It doesn't matter if they could sell anything, right? They could sell anything. I don't think that should be taken into consideration when dealing with someone's health in any capacity. But we've seen a sort of uptick in people wanting to talk about the Kelsey Fitz Simmons case. We'll get to that, Jesse. I'll get to that. And I want to make my position clear on this. The shooting was justified. She picked up a gun and shot it and then tried to load it. She was an officer. She knows what was going to happen if you pick up a weapon in front of another officer. They have to protect themselves, right? They're trained to shoot center mass, which is why she was shot in the chest. And there's no argument that the shooting wasn't justified, right? I don't hear anybody arguing that the shooting wasn't justified, because that would be ridiculous for anybody to be arguing that her being shot wasn't justified. It 100% was justified. She picked up a weapon and then admitted to picking up that weapon. Right. I mean, I've had postpartum, but again, there is like a light. I don't even want to say light, because postpartum's not light, but there's sort of a scale, I would say, of postpartum, like from baby blues to, you really want to hurt yourself, and all that. So I don't, they usually shoot to kill, and they shoot multiple until the subject is incapacitated. They shot her one time, probably because she was an officer in their department. So usually they do fire more than one round to make sure that that person is incapacitated, and they only shot her once. So really what they did was they gave her some grace, because that's their coworker, right? Like, and I think they knew she was having some mental health issues there, and I don't think they necessarily wanted to even fire the first shot. So I mean, that's a real big telltale sign that nobody wanted to fire that shot. They were put in a position where that was the appropriate thing to do, and it goes by their training, right? You pulled a weapon with an officer there. Common sense. She knew what would happen, right? She knew what would happen. So I don't see anybody arguing that the shooting isn't justified. The argument is whether she should be in jail for a charge that carries 5 years, and why she's on alcohol testing. Now, I can tell you from experience that there are plenty of people who get arrested for things that aren't even drug related or alcohol related in any way, shape, or form. But if somebody alleges that they use drugs or alcohol, then it is added as a part of their release. And so that's exactly what happened in Kelsey's case, which was her fiance, ex-fiance, I'm not sure like what the title would be at this moment, but filed for the restraining order, and is filed for full custody now and child support. But he had alleged heavy drinking, and so they wanted her to do the scram device, right? So she was the officer that she was served with a restraining order, and when she was packing the baby's bag so the baby could go with the dad, she reached for her weapon and went to go fire it. Apparently it didn't fire, or I don't know if there just was no bullets in it, whatever. So she tried to put bullet in it, right? So she admitted to having the weapon, and she said she was only going to harm herself. Nonetheless, you don't pull a weapon in front of an officer. From her own training, she's going to know what's going to happen if you do. So the fiance had filed for the restraining order and for emergency custody, I believe, of the child. Now, I never think that taking a child from a woman, especially while she's dealing with postpartum, is a smart idea. I think giving that person the intensive therapy, even if it's inpatient, but to rip that child away from their mother, you're just making it worse. You're just making it worse. What do they have to live for now? You just gave them nothing, no hope, no nothing to live for, right? So I don't necessarily agree with the whole, like, let's take her kid and do all that nonsense. But she definitely needed inpatient treatment, right? Inpatient intensive treatment and maybe medication. But she picked up that weapon, and that's sort of what changes all of it. Now, the charge carries 5 years, what she's being charged with. Hey, girl, there's an argument about, I mean, yeah, it's essentially, I mean, here's the thing. If she was a civilian, and she picked up that weapon, you could argue, like, they might have just, not known better, or they thought that the cops would, try to talk them down, whatever. She's a trained officer, so she knew picking up that weapon, um, what that would result in, you know? So it's unfortunate what happened. Yeah, that's another thing I saw. Um, Sorry, I'm buffering. I have to fix that. I did see that trying to put a lien on the house. Now that's weird. Okay, I've never seen that. Hey Donna, I've never seen a lien trying to be put on someone's house. That's weird. That's strange to me. That's very strange that you would be trying to put a lien on your ex's home. If you're no longer living with them, right, and you want child support, okay, you want full custody, but you want to lien on their, I mean, I don't understand where the hell that's coming from. And I do agree something is weird. I have been through, coercive control. Uh, Anybody who's had an abuser probably has been through coercive control. And I'm not saying that couldn't possibly be part of the issue here. What I'm saying is, it's weird to me that someone would try to put a lien on your home. That's strange. Again, I've been through postpartum. I've dealt with an abuser, and it might have been a long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. That pain does not go away. You do not forget what happened to you. You feel it in your heart. I can feel what it felt like in those moments. And my postpartum was more like baby blues-ish, just kind of like stressy and depressy. It is weird. That's not something you normally see in family court, is a lien on someone's house. That's not something that is normal. That, especially right away, that's something that maybe if you go years without paying child support and you own a home, that they might ask the court to do way, way, way along the lines. But it is very strange to be asking for a lien to be put on the house right now. That is very strange. I've never seen that. I did hear that she was allegedly pregnant when shot. For me, that doesn't really change anything. She still picked up that weapon knowing she was pregnant, right? It doesn't change the fact that she needed clearly intensive care, right? And I would argue inpatient care and maybe medication, depending on what her doctors thought. It doesn't change the fact she picked up the weapon. She knew what she was doing when she picked up the weapon, right? The parts that are weird with me are, if Mr. Bradle hadn't been kind of a pompous dick, I feel like she probably would have gotten a better deal on being out, because as we know, she went back to jail after she said she couldn't do the scram. She was shot in the chest, and so the court paperwork says that they knew that she had a punctured lung and broken ribs. So if she's got a punctured lung and broken ribs, I mean, it's really not, though. And the circumstance might be unusual, but it still doesn't warrant somebody asking for your house to be a lien put on it. That just doesn't make any sense. The only circumstances that make this case different than another one is she was an officer, right? That doesn't warrant a lien being put on her house just because she was an officer. That's what if she owns the home, why would he want a lien? I don't even if she's selling the house, what is the lien for? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's an unusual in the fact that she was an officer. But if this was, a man that had been an officer and pulled a gun, and Kelsey was the man and the man was the woman in this, it would be the same. It wouldn't be so unusual, would it? You know, I think the part that irks me a little is that Mr. Bradle did not do his client any justice with his fucking attitude and his holier than thou bullshit, because that ultimately is what sort of made the judge go, no, listen, when you're dealing with family court cases, there are not only alleged, but a ton, most cases are one side pointing at the other that they're mentally unstable. And probably some evidence of their being, like, whether they went to therapy or like that happens all the time in family court, literally all the time. So there's nothing unusual about that. That's literally what they argue about all the time. Kelsey Fitz Simmons. But it doesn't make it like the being mentally unstable doesn't make it any different. Every allegation in family court is that the other person is mentally unstable, right? Like that's family court does a lot of what I would call kangaroo courting, which is everything is done in the dark. And, you know, that's one of the problems with the family court is that they get away with far too much in those cases because the court does everything under the guise of no, you know, you can't just sit in there and watch. It's family court, right? They're talking about minors. So unless you're part of a case, they're going to ask you to leave. And, you know, a lot of this stuff really needs to be public for a reason because the court wouldn't do some of the things that they do. No, I could not beat up my abuser who's much bigger than me. Not even just much bigger, but the man was a boxer. So I wasn't winning. And believe you me, I fought back. You know what I'm saying? Like I fought back. There was no winning in that scenario for me. But again, that was a very long time ago, and I was very young at the time when I went through all that. Nonetheless, the scram device is the thing you blow into, right? So think about when you get pulled over on the side of the road, right? And the cop's like, hey, we're going to need you to do a breathalyzer. It's like that. That's what a scram is. It's you blow into it. But the thing is it's not just you blow into it for a few seconds and stop, right? You literally have to keep blowing into it until it beeps, right? You have to breathe into it and just keep breathing, like, and keep going. I mean, it's it's not like a quick and then you're done. Listen, as a person who smoked for a long time, I can tell you this. I'd probably have to try the thing like 7 times before I got all the way through to do it once because my lung capacity just is not there. I mean, the only thing I would be afraid of in that scenario is a weapon, right? A weapon. Access to a weapon would scare me. You know? But that's the thing. The attorney applying for a lien on her house that's up for sale is weird. They're not married. He's not entitled to that money. Child support is based on your income, right? So child support has nothing to do with whether you sell a house and get a lump sum. The legal standards for child support in most states, but especially in the state of Massachusetts, is based on what you're making in income. And it is not based on whether you're selling your house and you're going to get a lump sum. So the other parent needs to get a lump sum because they're taking care of the child. That's not the way it works at all. It's based on your income, what you make. Selling your house is not income. So that's weird to me that they would be asking for a lien on her house for income. That's not income. You know, she definitely belongs in a mental health facility. No doubt about it. She definitely needs help. I don't think she's going to get that in jail. You know, I don't think she's going to get that in jail. Listen, I worked in a jail for the criminally insane. And I can tell you this. We are literally limited by what the jail will allow. Certain medications they don't want to give. Certain treatments are not allowed because it's a jail. Okay. Also, in the state of Massachusetts, if you have Mass Health is covering some of those treatments and medications, not the jail. So, especially where I worked. So then it becomes a problem of who's paying for it. Is the prison paying for it or is Mass Health paying for it? Why is it medically necessary? So she is definitely not going to get the help that she needs in a prison cell. Okay? Because let me put it this way. At least where I worked, there was a jail for the criminally insane for men. That same thing does not exist for women. It is a different scenario for women in the state of Massachusetts. There is no jail for the criminally insane for women. You go to Framingham. If you're in Norfolk County, do not pass go, do not collect $200, okay? Or Suffolk County, you could end up in South Bay, which is locked down 23 hours a day. That's not going to help postpartum, that's for sure, at all. As a matter of fact, it's going to make it worse. And taking the child away from the mother and that sort of bond, it's one of the worst things you can do when it comes to dealing with a postpartum. If there is an option to avoid it, it should be avoided, because they're falling into a deeper depression at that point. You just took their baby because they have a mental health condition that they didn't ask for and can't help, right? No, she is the North Andover officer that was off duty, or she wasn't back yet, I guess. She was out on like a medical leave, who was shot by the other North Andover officer who came to serve her with a restraining order from her fiance. Yeah, he's a firefighter. I'm just not, the only thing, if I was him, I might be afraid of is a weapon. I would not like access to a weapon. I don't think I'm afraid of her in general, like stature wise. But make no mistake, there is actual like woman on man domestic violence, even if the woman is smaller. That absolutely happens. But I'm not necessarily thinking that that's the case here. I think she has postpartum and maybe, PTSD. She was an officer, so she could have a bunch of different things going on, but she is not going to get that help in a jail cell. At least for men, we had better help because we had a jail for the criminally insane for mental health while you were in a jail. They don't have that for women in the state of Massachusetts, right? It just doesn't, we don't have it. It doesn't exist. So she might be on full pay. I have no idea if she is or isn't, or what she's getting for income, but child support's based on that. There'd be no reason to put a lien on her home. None. So that really strikes me that they would be asking for a lien right now as she's selling her home. That doesn't make any sense at all. They're not married. He's not entitled to the money. It's not income. So, well, part of our problem with our family court systems is they do a lot more hurting than they do helping. Yeah, they're not married. So that'd be the thing that I would be afraid of is the weapon, What do you mean there's no standard? There is a standard for child support. There absolutely 100% is a standard for child support and what you can pay and what you can't pay. He has no right to her assets as a whole just because he has her kid right now for custody. He just got, temporary custody. He has no right to be like, oh, hey, let me see. They take into consideration both people's what they have and what the income is to give the child the same life the kid had when they were with both parents. There absolutely is a standard for child support. There absolutely is a standard of what they're allowed to take via what you have. There are guidelines that they have to follow. They can't just decide like, oh, you make $100,000 a year. Cool. You're going to give that person $20,000 a year. It's not the way it works. There are standards that they have to follow, paperwork that has to be filled out, documents that have to be given. And usually a lien on a home doesn't happen until you haven't paid child support for a really long time if you own a home. Well, that's a yes and a no. They're not, and they are at the same time. Again, the family court they have guidelines that they have to follow when it comes to child support. They absolutely 100% do. Every state does. Every state has guidelines for child support and how it's calculated. I mean, it's a possibility. I don't see that happening. I feel like if she could get, another hearing and figure out a different way. I mean, I think Bradle screwed her, in my opinion. He screwed her. He is one of Aiden's attorneys. But I think his grandstanding screwed her. Ultimately. I think his sort of shit attitude of, well, you know, there are laws. There are federal laws and state when it comes to child support. There are guidelines they have to legally follow. Legally. You know? So that's the problem, is why they're asking for the scram device, is because of his saying that she had drinking issues, right? That's ultimately why they said, hey, you're going to need to do this alcohol. I mean, the charges have nothing to do with alcohol, but the reason they asked for it, yeah, but the lien is, it could be if we were talking about the government asking for it, but the government isn't asking for it. The government's not asking for it. This isn't a lien that the government is asking for. This is a lien that the boyfriend or the ex-fiance is asking for. You know, that back taxes, back mortgage, equity loan, cool. All of that could be true if the government was asking for the lien. That's not who's asking for the lien. The ex-boyfriend's asking, or the ex-fiance is asking for the lien. The father of her child is asking for the lien, which is really strange right now. Right in the beginning right now, yes, it's strange. It makes no sense. Bachelorette party? I have no idea. I think he screwed her. Royally. His attitude screwed over her sort of finding a different option. His sort of, well, she can't do anything. And, you know, basically he was telling the judge in his grandstanding that, like, she can't do anything at all. Sorry, Your Honor. We want to change all these. And the fact that he tried to change conditions twice within like a 2-week period, the judge was not happy about that. I think had he toned it down a little with the grandstanding and the blaming and the finger pointing and she can't X, Y, and Z. Okay, if she can't, which I understand, if you're shot in the chest, right, and you have a punctured lung, yeah, you probably can't do the scram. That probably would hurt, okay? Because like I said, it's not just you like that and you're done. You have to continuously blow into that thing until it beeps. And it's a long time. So if you have a punctured lung, I'm going to assume that you probably cannot blow into that, scram like that. You know, it might take even a couple times to try to even get the thing to work. You know, you're going to stop before it beeps, which means you're going to have to do it again. And that ultimately would lead to her violating the conditions and being sent back if she can't do it. So that's why it was brought to the court. I think, at least in the judge's order, what I read is the judge said that no alternatives were offered to the judge on record. And so the judge wasn't happy with Mr. Bradel just saying, well, after the hearing was like done, being like, well, there needs to be an alternative. The judge asked him if he wanted to put in, you know, anything basically twice. And this is just what the judge's order says. And that Mr. Bradel did not. And so the judge has nothing to go on except his word. And he pissed the fucking judge off, bottom line. He screwed his client because he pissed the fucking judge off. That's exactly what he should do. The problem with that is there's no mental health. She was on an ankle bracelet and she was ordered to live with her parents, I believe. And so they want the ankle monitor on her, right? They don't want that off of her. He wanted the ankle monitor off of her. Mr. Bradel wanted the ankle monitor off her and said that she couldn't have it because she was having a surgery. The judge in his order says, well, you didn't give us any medical documentation that she can't wear it for this surgery. We have plenty of people who have surgeries with that on. And so if you want to file something showing us that she can't have it on while having the surgery, then do so. And he didn't. And so then after that, he was asking for the scram to be stopped because of the pain. Now, the one thing that didn't make sense to me with the judge's order was the judge recognizes that he knows that she was shot in the lung, right? Okay. And has broken ribs, but still gets pissed that they don't give more medical. Like, okay, I get being pissed off at Bradel. Fully understand that. And I do think he screwed his client. But however, if as a judge, you're saying that you know that she had a punctured lung, what more medical documentation do you want? Does that not common sense speak for itself? Just asking, like asking. So I think the grandstanding pissed the judge off to the point where the judge was like, no, Mr. Bradle, you didn't give us any documentation for this, right? This is what she agreed to be let out. And if she can't do those things, we're sending her back. And so the judge in his order says, hey, the probation officer was at the first hearing. So this is in the judge's order, right? The judge says that the probation officer was at the first hearing, could have testified live to other alternatives that they agreed on, didn't. So they were pissed off. The judge was pissed off that when Mr. Brittle went in for the second time, he cited the probation officer in an agreement, but did not have the probation officer come back and testify live. Because again, and he cites the law where like the witness that was there should have, like the probation officer, if that was something that they agreed upon or something that they wanted in the second hearing that they had to stop the scram, then the probation officer should have been there to testify live to assure the court of the of it being valid. So basically the judge was saying, like, we don't just take your word for it, Mr. Bradle. We need assurances, right? That there's going to be something put into place in place of the scram, right? And you have not given medical documentation, which again is weird when it comes to the lung, right? Because her lung is punctured. Obviously, common sense would say you're not going to be able to breathe like you normally would with a punctured lung, right? Well, they were called because there was a restraining order. The fiance filed, she was being served with the restraining order. What do you mean? What do you mean the screwing came before the lawyer or any problems he may have caused? I mean, again, I'm not arguing that most people are not going to argue that the shooting itself was not justified. She pulled out a weapon while being served with a restraining order. She was a trained officer. You can't pull a weapon and not know you're going to get shot. It's kind of common sense there. You know what I'm saying? The Kelsey Fitz Simmons saga. But the hearings are public right now. I think there's only audio. I haven't been able to find the video, although I know there's a clip somewhere. Does anybody know where that is? I would love to play it if I could find it. But I've seen it. Yeah, that's not how child support works. So if he wants her to pay child support in one lump sum, sucks to be him, because the court's not going, that's not the standard. The standard is not here's one lump sum for the year. That's not the standard. The standard, if she wants it, would be weekly or every other week, you know? It probably is. I wouldn't doubt that his parents are sort of helping in that department. But if he actually thinks that a court is going to order her to pay a lump sum of child support while just filing for child support, he's lost his ever-loving fucking mind, because that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You cannot expect a different standard for her than everyone else who pays child support. That's just not the way it's going to work. So, I mean, what feels off is some stuff with the fiance. The cops serving her with the restraining order, there's nothing off about that. They have to. If he files for the restraining order, they have to serve her. She has to be served. So, I mean, they didn't do anything wrong by going there to serve her with it, right? They're just doing their job. They're not the ones who went into the court to get it. He is, right? So the cops had to go there. They had to serve her. They had to give her, the paperwork and say, hey, you're being, served now. And as I understand it, the custody was given to him on a temporary motion. So, as she was packing, it's when she, picked up the weapon. And unfortunately, she's a trained officer. She knows what happened. You can't pick up a weapon and then actually fire the shot. I don't think it was loaded because and it's not clear why the first shot that she fired didn't go off. She admitted to having the weapon. She admitted to doing this. She just said she was going to harm herself and nobody else. But you can't pick up a gun. Yes, he is her lawyer, and expect that you're not going to get shot. That's not. It's not the way it works. And as a trained officer, she absolutely would know better. I'm trying to find the video clip. If anybody knows where it is. Let me see. Yeah, there is a bit of a video that shows what just happened when they brought her back to jail. Let me see if I can find it here. Mm-mm. All these are from a while ago. 10 days ago is when she was released, I believe. The problem is wait, what? I can't. I literally can't. For what exactly? For what? It doesn't even make any sense. That makes no sense at all. Apparently, my mod here, Julie, is saying that Grant is being deposed by the sewer turtle over Lindsay's lawsuit, which makes no sense to me at all. I don't know what he thought he's getting out of that. Has nothing to do with anything other than being someone's friend. Like, that's weird. That's weird. That's really freaking strange. Weird, bro. Really fucking weird. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know. That's a DJ. Fuck if I know. Fuck if I know. That makes no logical sense to me whatsoever at all. It's weird, if you ask me. Weird. Very, very weird. I'm trying to find the last hearing because there is a video. It makes no sense to depose him, but okay, go for it. Have fun with that. I mean, there literally makes no sense whatsoever. So yeah, the guy, the fiance, ex-fiance, whatever. His name's Justin, but he is a firefighter. So to me, it's really strange. Her bail, was revoked. She went back to jail, but I really don't. I mean, what she needed was like inpatient treatment. Maybe you could keep the, leg device on. Okay. You could do that without sending her back. There is no, there is no help like there is in for men in the state of Massachusetts for women when it comes to a facility like that that's like a jail. We don't have one of those. So it just kind of makes no sense to me. She's not going to get the mental health help she needs in a jail. They could have put her, in any sort of place. Let's see. Hold on. audio. Hold on. Mine is the audio, really, of it.
Hello, Your Honor. Timothy Brado for Kelsey Fitz Simmons. She's present in the courtroom today for the record to my left.
Good afternoon, Mr. Good afternoon, everybody in the courtroom.
Thank you.
So I received the defendant's emergency motion for immediate release from the Scram order. So I'll hear from the moving party.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Judge, this is an issue that causes Ms. Fitzsimmons a lot of pain. And I don't want to conflate her being able to pass the test because she's been passing them, but she has about 4 hours of pain and dizziness afterwards. And you know, I don't think anyone, and I know the court would share my thought that this shouldn't be a torture device for her. This shouldn't be something that causes her pain, impairs her rib healing, etc.
So the judge took issue with the fact that Mr. Bradel called it a torture device, and the fact that Mr. Bradel said that it was a cruel and unusual punishment. Okay. Now, again, they agreed to these, and this was the judge's argument, which is they agreed to do these things. I understand that after you start doing them, you're going to realize that with a punctured lung, you're probably not going to be able to breathe into that thing because you don't know what it entails, really. They tell you you have to breathe into it, but what they don't tell you is it's for an extended period of time. It's not a just, and you're done. You have to, and it's even longer than that. You have to keep going until it beeps. So with a punctured lung, even with somebody used to smoke and only vapes now, I would not be able to do it. You know, never mind having a damn punctured lung. That'd be very difficult. So I don't think, well, I disagree, but also the judge disagrees. I think his attitude is sort of grandstanding is what screwed his client ultimately, in my opinion. And reading last night what the judge's decision was, that just confirms what I already thought, which is you pissed the judge off, bro. Don't fucking piss the judge off.
Et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we're not trying to get any sort of advantage over anything. We just want her to not, A, to not be in pain for hours after these tests, and B, you know, we just want her to not have the anxiety that if she has a difficulty doing it, that she's going to get a knock on the door and get locked up. We were told by the Elmo people that, you know, they may have to issue a warrant, and thankfully they didn't. And we appreciate, you have Mr. January's email regarding his own observations about what happened. And, you know, I think that says it all. That's someone that has no bias or interest, and, you know, probation enforces court orders, and that's that. And he is telling the court this is a problem. And, you know, this is something that should be addressed. And
Okay.
so I see this as a simple adjustment of terms.
I don't see it that way, just so you understand where I'm coming from. I don't see it that way.
Okay, can I?
Okay.
I don't understand what you're saying, Judge.
Okay, what I'm telling you, it's not a simple adjustment. One of the reasons she was released, and one of the reasons to ensure the safety of the community was for her to be alcohol-free. If she cannot do that or will not do that, that changes everything.
She's happy to be alcohol-free. She doesn't wish to be alcohol-free. It's just the means of determining that's the adjustment. That's what I mean when I say this is an adjustment that.
Well, a scram is what was ordered. Now, was she unable, when you said that there was a knock on the door, explain that to me.
No, Judge, that we don't want to have a knock on the door. She's living in fear of there being a knock on the door.
That grandstanding right there is
because of
judge.
these tests. It's just not.
This is going to happen.
And then the mental anxiety, this is a very significant issue for her.
Okay.
And that, you know, we just want to adjust whatever means the court wishes.
That right there was a huge mistake to say to the judge. Well, the mental anxiety and the, like, you don't say that to the judge, dude. Every person who's a defendant who doesn't want to be in jail has that anxiety. Common sense. Okay. So you wouldn't say that to a freaking judge. Okay. That's sort of gaslighting the judge back and being like, well, she has all this anxiety, Your Honor. She shouldn't have to have that. It's like every defendant is going to have that. That was a misstep right there. It's the It's the, well, we don't want to knock on the door for her to be arrested. The sort of grandstanding of being like making it this big thing in front of the entire court, that things that haven't even happened yet. Like, you're pissing the judge off, dude. Don't do that. And yes, Carly, if you watch me regularly, you would know that would be my opinion if fucking Hank Brennan did it. The grandstanding is what screwed his client. The gaslighting, the narrative is what screwed his client. This has nothing to do with whether I like the sewer turtle or not. I don't. He's a horrible person. But the fucking grandstanding screwed his client. She needs mental health help in a facility that can actually help her. A jail, unlike for men in the state of Massachusetts, okay, they at least have that option of a jail that helps, that's specifically for mental health. Women don't have that option here. That is not an option here in Massachusetts. You know, everyone, it's the grandstanding. It's the narrative. Judges don't like it because it basically tells the judge that you're treating them as if they're fucking stupid. It's like spitting in their face. It's gaslighting, and they do not fucking appreciate it. That's common sense. Most people know that.
Wishes to test her or figure this out is fine with us, but this is just a very difficult environment, and just that's something that I just want to ask the court to adjust somehow.
Okay, so you're asking the court to adjust the court's order that's been in effect for 3 days with no medical evidence to support your claim that she cannot do it.
Well, I think you have 2 affidavits and the email from probation. I think that's pretty persuasive evidence that this is extremely difficult.
The email from probation is not evidence. If you have any evidence, now is your opportunity to submit it.
I don't understand the court's position. That's not evidence.
Okay, it's an email. It's hearsay. Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the submissions of an email as evidence in this hearing to relieve the defendant, Ms. Fitzsimmons, of a condition that's been in effect for 3 days?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we have the person who sent that email here.
Okay. So you have a burden, it's your motion. What do you want to do?
Well, Judge, I don't think that is the court saying that papers and emails and affidavits are not sufficient?
This is an email from a probation officer. The court gives that 0 weight.
Well, then you have an affidavit from Ms. Fitzsimmons and you have an affidavit from her mother of the physical observations of what happens. I think that's, the more persuasive evidence than a doctor saying something to the effect of, I think it's self-evident and it's common knowledge that if you have broken ribs, that it's hard to breathe.
What evidence do I have that she has current broken ribs and that she's suffering from broken ribs at this time?
Well, you have an affidavit from her mother, you have an affidavit from Ms. Fitzsimmons, and the other day we were here, I submitted I believe I submitted the instructions from Mass General about broken ribs.
Okay.
I mean, I just would just argue that it's somewhat self-evident as well. It's somewhat self-evident as well, and that, she's having great difficulty here. It's been observed by probation, it's been attested to by her mother, and it's been attested to by Ms. Fitzsimmons. So it's just a very difficult scenario for her.
I don't agree with the judge on this one. Like,
luckily, she has passed the test, but then
was
she's
shot in the
got
chest.
hours of pain afterwards. And the one that she had difficulty with, out of an abundance of caution, we were dealing with Elmo, and we were informed that they
you
may
do realize
issue a
there
warrant.
are attorneys
So I
and
want to
judges
hear
that
about
are
the one
both
she had
fucking
difficulty
idiots,
with.
right? You
When
don't
was
have to be an
that?
attorney or a judge to know what you're talking about.
Except 1 moment. Well, so that's what,
Yeah, the
that's what I was
judge
saying, Judge. I don't want to
didn't like that
conflate passing with not having difficulty. She has difficulty with every single test. And so she passes them in great pain. So she's had difficulty in every single one, equated, it's in the affidavit. So she has difficulty on every single one. So that's different issue than passing the test. So she's
It's
experiencing
going to be hard to breathe into
difficulty
that.
all the way through.
Not,
But the one that she was unable to
You have to
was
continuously
9/9/25 at 3:09 p.m., I guess.
And was that a required test that she was to do?
Yes,
And she was unable to perform it?
correct.
Okay, was she unable to perform it?
No.
What happened?
No. So this, since she's been released,
Yes, swear in office.
Would
The
you raise your right hand,
probation
please?
officer.
Do you solemnly swear you will make true answers to such questions that may be put to you by the court or upon its direction, so help you
I
God?
do. Or if I could just pass this up, this is.
They could, but that would
Information
require her
pertaining to all of her
leaving the
things.
house a lot more.
And is that being submitted, Attorney Braille,
I don't think that's gonna
as an
be
exhibit
feasible.
for the purposes of this hearing?
Judge, I'd be more than happy to do that.
It's not more than happy to. You're either doing it or not.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead, Your Honor.
Okay,
It
so we'll,
just says that she passed the test, so it's not an issue.
I'm sorry,
The issue is
Paloma.
that she's in
I have to
extreme
laugh
pain while
because
doing it,
you think I'm the only person who's saying that that caused his
whether she
client
passes.
fucking
okay, so
problem?
there's one, Officer January that says
There are plenty of
incomplete
actual attorneys who say that, just
at
FYI.
9:10:25 at 3:09 PM. Is that right?
That's correct.
So what does that mean?
Yes. So what it means is there's a scheduled test that's programmed daily for her to be alerted and to initiate a test. And that happens. And so initially.
Not from a probation
she
officer.
Answers the
You
alert.
can't bring an email
and
from a
attempts to
probation
take the
officer and say
test.
this is evidence. You have to have the probation officer
Is-
testify live.
But is unable to complete the test. And based on my information, my conversations with Elmo is that is when she has difficulty either blowing as hard or as long, or a combination of both, into
That's
the machine to complete the test. So what happens after that is there are additional attempts to complete the test, which she tries, and then ultimately on that particular day, she successfully completes and passes the test on September 10th at 3:50 PM.
Okay, what I have in front of me is an incomplete test at 9:10:25 at 3:09 PM.
That's correct. And then if you just look
And then
right
it
above
says
that,
passed at 9:10:25 at 9:30 AM.
okay, so you're looking, I'm referring to this second document, it's multiple pages.
Mhm.
I think if you just go up instead of the one above it. the
Okay.
Incomplete is the. not
So it's
3.
3:09, it's incomplete, and then at 3:50 she passed.
That's correct.
So that's a period of 40 minutes?
That's correct. And you'll see the same thing.
So the other one, which is
September 9th, yes.
September 9th,
Again, at 3:00.
but she,
The test is initially incomplete.
at 3:09, and then it's complete at 4:21.
Yeah, 4:20, 4:21.
So there were 2 times that she had an incomplete test. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Incomplete, and
And what's the procedure of the probation department when somebody who has a condition of release to have a scram and to pass the scram test in a very serious case if they're incomplete? And I have 2 incomplete tests and I was not made aware of either one of them.
That would have to be paid for.
so my first.
That would be the
job when
burden
we
of
did
her
an
paying for it,
incomplete
which
test
wouldn't
is
be fair.
to
So they
gather
wouldn't
more
do that.
information. And so, which is what we do. And so in response to the incomplete test, we call Elmo, we gather the information, which is she answered the alert to take the test
Her-
as scheduled.
Attorneys.
Unfortunately, she was unable to complete the test because she was unable to blow as long or as hard
As you're supposed to.
as needed to complete the test. So ultimately, at 4:20, she completes the scheduled test. There may be additional attempts in between, but ultimately, she completes the test.
So that's for a period of
And so
an hour and 20 minutes.
that's correct. Now, in conjunction to the hour and 20 minutes, we also know that, and I observed it firsthand, that whatever the injuries are, which I don't know actually doesn't really
Yes, but
matter.
the court's
to
not
me.
going to order something that's going to be a burden of her paying
When
for
I
it.
was doing the installation process and observed what was genuine pain, like genuine
Okay.
pain. So I know,
Any objection to any of the terms used by the
No.
probation officer? Okay.
so we have all that information. We don't deem that non-compliant. She's attempting to take the test and she ultimately passes the test at 4:20. So with all of the information, that's not non-compliant. That's compliance, and she, with her
What do you,
obstacles.
I'm getting confused. What do you mean compliant?
That's-
As far as when
that's-
she was initially,
That's compliant with scram testing. She was ordered,
when she initially was, started to be monitored by Scram and you went through the preparations, is
yeah,
that right?
that's correct.
Okay. So when something is incomplete, do you typically bring it to the attention of the
No.
court?
No, that's not what we do. So if something is incomplete, as in this case, at
Same thing
on
if you take a
September
drug
9th,
test and it's
30
inconclusive.
at 3:09,
You still
we have
took
an
it.
incomplete test.
Something might have happened at the lab, but they don't
which
just
is a
go to the
scheduled
court
test.
immediately. They try to
Mhm.
have you take it again or go, you know what I mean?
And then we have, that's simply not the non-compliance. If she had missed the test,
Then it would have been
Um,
non-compliance. If you
that would
missed,
generate additional responses from Elmo, and then that would determine whether or not there's actual non-compliance.
attempting to take it isn't
If
non-compliance.
someone missed a test because they were down in the basement doing laundry and then came up and realized that they had a test, took an on-demand test 20 minutes later and passed the test, which means there's no alcohol in the system. We don't deem that as non-compliant. That's compliance. If they missed the test and additional notifications were made by the electronic monitoring office regarding the missed test, and she failed to respond, or she failed to take an alert for another on-demand test, now that's non-compliance, and we would initiate a pretrial violation notice and notify the district attorney's office.
Right.
This particular case, I don't deem non-compliance because she's complying with the
Attempted
schedule
to take it.
program. I'm aware of pain based on my observations from the installation process. So as long as she's attempting to take the test, continues to attempt to take the test, and then ultimately takes the test, that's not non-compliance. That's someone that's,
Well,
I
that's
agree.
for
your,
me,
that's your position, that's non-compliant.
Well-
It's really up to the court to decide whether somebody's compliant or not with conditions of release. What you're saying is
It's not non-compliance to probation.
those
there would
situations
never,
you
ever-
described is what you deem as appropriate to bring before the court.
it would, so I guess it would never be brought to court by way of a pretrial violation for
Attempting
an
to take it.
incomplete test with the information that I've
Have.
talked about. So no, an incomplete test does not initiate a pretrial violation or
No.
from our end.
Right.
Because there are many reasons for a test to be incomplete.
Life
And there
happens.
are,
They know that.
Circumstances where someone misses a test
Car breaks down
and then takes an on-demand test. We don't.
on the way to the
that's
testing
not
facility.
intentional.
This is at home, but there are plenty of other
non-compliance.
scenarios.
And the goal is to test to ensure that the person's sober. And that's not, we don't deem that non-compliance. That we would never, we never have, and we never would, in this case, initiate a pretrial violation proceeding based on an incomplete test that was subsequently passed. And so, the schedule for her to be tested is something that we discussed. Wasn't ordered by the court. The court ordered someone to be alcohol
What do
free
you mean we discussed? So she knows
I
when she's going to be
discussed-
tested?
with Ms. Fitz Simmons. I discussed with the defense counsel about creating a testing schedule because it's more practical to have the schedule in place. There was no schedule that was ordered by the court. There's no frequency of testing that was ordered by the court.
It was
4 times a day, 3 times a day. None of that was ordered. She was
It
ordered.
was random screens, excuse me, Ms. Officer January. It was random screens. Now you're telling me she's on a schedule to get tested?
Well, the scram
Is
gives,
that
I
what you're
think.
telling me?
We created a schedule,
With
as we always do.
Okay.
As we always do. Not in this particular case. We always do.
It was random screens that were ordered.
Judge, I don't have that. I don't have random screens anywhere in my materials for the record.
Okay.
I don't
Usually
know
the
nothing
scram
about
will
random
say like, you have to do it 3 times a day because
Okay.
you are in the shower
Right.
when it happens.
Just so I can clarify that.
So that's why the schedule.
When we get an order, someone's placed on pretrial conditions that include remain alcohol-free with scram testing. We always default to creating this testing schedule
Okay.
and up to 4 times a day. So we'll schedule one for the morning,
Thanks, you got
we'll
3
schedule one for the
times.
mid-afternoon, we'll schedule one for the evening, and if we have to, we'll schedule one for later at night. And that's to ensure that sobriety throughout the day. In this particular case, we created a schedule for her to be tested at 9:30, 3 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock. The only way we would not.
Sounds like the judge doesn't even know how the probation department operates, but that
enter
happens all the time.
schedule Is if the court specifically said, I want the test to be done randomly, I don't want her to know when the test is coming, and the test to be done randomly, and at that point in time, we would take her off a schedule,
And put it on a random.
and then we would notify Elmo to be tested 4 times a day
Yeah, you gotta
at
take it back.
random.
You gotta go
Okay.
home.
So that's done on this case, and it's done on every case.
Okay. Attorney Bradle, do you have anything else to submit?
Judge, I would just offer, I respect and I heard your Honor's take on the probation email, but for the record, I would move that into evidence as well. And I just want to also.
Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the admission of the email?
Well, I think we just heard with the email.
All right, so the email is excluded. Anything else, Attorney
No, my
Bradle?
objection, Your Honor.
Sure.
And Judge, I just want to state that on the pretrial conditions of release, it says comply with remote alcohol breath testing.
Okay. I don't know if that's what was ordered. I'm going to go back and listen to FTR.
I can tell the court from where I sit, I didn't remember any use.
I mean, you may very well be right, but I'm going to go listen.
Judge, I just want to clarify something. My email, and I know but it's important that the court knows, I didn't make a recommendation that scram condition be vacated. I never did that. I never suggested, it's all that email was.
Attorney, Officer January, nobody's asking you questions. Your testimony is complete. Are you asking to make a statement to the court sua sponte?
If the court's under the belief that I recommended that condition be vacated or
That's screwed.
removed, then yeah.
That's screwed.
I haven't said anything one way or the other, sir. We're here for one purpose and one purpose
Okay.
only, and that's
Thank
for the motion to vacate the scram device. So do you have anything else to submit, Attorney Bradle?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Commonwealth, do you have anything?
No, I have no evidence to submit. other
There are
than,
quite a few reasons.
The
but
arguments
none
that I
that are
talked about,
anybody's
how
business.
important that the Commonwealth's belief is
It is. And she
in
did it
light
with
of
kids.
the court
Believe me,
releasing the
want
defendant
more
that
to
testing.
Do it.
Okay.
And she did.
Attorney Bradle, here, first of all, I do have a question. So,
But if you even knew what she went through on a daily basis,
Ms.
You'd
Fitz
understand.
Simmons is able to do the scram, is that correct?
unfortunately,
Or is she not able to do it? I don't know. Is she not able to do it?
I think,
the way we
that
want them to.
depends on whether the court is willing to tolerate that the material represented in the
The court
affidavit.
is not tolerating anything, okay? Let's be clear. I'm not tolerating anything. The court is not tolerating anything. Ms. Fitzsimmons is a defendant. In lieu of incarceration, my order was that she submit to scram. If she cannot do that, I need to know that. Can she do that or not?
She can do it
Okay,
under the terms that are
So-
laid out in the affidavit.
So you're saying she can do it on her own terms?
With significant pain and dizziness and having to recover for several hours.
I understand what you're saying. It is certainly not the court's intention. It's not the court's position to have Ms. Fitzsimmons in any pain at all. So I appreciate your argument. Do you have anything else to add?
I would suggest, Judge, that I think there's other ways to do this. If the court wishes to have her tested for alcohol compliance, lack of alcohol, that's completely fine with the
It
defense.
doesn't get welfare.
But just the means that's being
I
employed.
love
is
that,
kind of a
that,
torture device for her.
Okay.
And so we object on due
this
process
whole,
grounds
oh,
to
everyone
that.
has welfare
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Like, that's
But
It is not this
doesn't
court's
have welfare.
intention
I
Most
understand.
to
people,
torture
no.
Ms. Fitzsimmons at all.
This is what happens when
The
people
court's
just
goal
listen
is to make sure the
to a turtle.
community is safe and Officer Noonan is safe. So I hear you loud and clear that the defense views Ms. Fitzsimmons having to do the scram as cruel and unusual and torture. Is that your position?
Well, that's an Eighth Amendment position. I suppose that
Okay.
can be put in there as well. But Judge, I think that, that there's probably other alternatives that she could do that I believe are out there but I know that might step on the court's other order for house arrest, that you would have to go to a facility. I know there's like urine tests and other things like that. So
Swab.
I know there's other possibilities out there
Much.
that, again, she's not trying to use this to create a situation where she can go drink alcohol. That's
Okay.
not at all what this is about. So I just want to ask the court to consider any other alternatives that might not pose this type of an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Gubitosi or Attorney Moriarty, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, I'm going to leave the bench for a few minutes. I'll be right.
Court, all right. Goes back to session,
Your Honor, we're back on the record with the Fitzsimmons matter.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I have reviewed everything again that's been submitted to me. And I will state for the record that Fitzsimmons has moved twice in a 3-day period to amend her conditions of release.
That pissed.
On neither occasion has she submitted any medical evidence to support her claims. The imposition of conditions is the court's order after careful consideration of the evidence to fashion the least restrictive conditions that will reasonably assure the appearance of the defendant and the safety of all other persons in the community pursuant to General Laws, Chapter
4.
276, Section 58A 2B. Just
And also,
days ago, the court
there are
concluded
reasons,
that
but that's not
the
again,
condition
anyone-
of remaining alcohol-free and submitting to scrim monitoring was
They want to
necessary
use their
to ensure the
filter
safety of the
Believe
community.
me.
After a thorough review of all of the arguments and submissions by the Commonwealth and
Fine.
Fitzsimmons,
An
that
education.
conclusion remains unchanged, regardless of Fitzsimmons' claimed physical limitations. Based on an affidavit submitted by Fitzsimmons' mother, the testimony of Assistant Chief Probation Officer Jeff January about his observations of Fitzsimmons' apparent pain during the scrim installation, and the representations of Fitzsimmons' counsel that it would be cruel and unusual punishment
And also, they shouldn't
and
even be after
torture
her.
to
That's not
continue
even
to
gonna-
require Fitzsimmons to comply with the condition of being monitored by SCRAM. The court concludes that Fitzsimmons cannot abide by the condition of being monitored by SCRAM. Without this condition, which ensures that she does not consume any alcohol, the court cannot assure the safety of Officer Noonan and all other persons in the community. Accordingly, the court's prior order of release is vacated, and Fitzsimmons is ordered to be held without bail pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 276, Section 58A. And a
Your Honor,
written
May I
order will follow.
address the court?
That's the court's order. Thank you.
all
Your
right.
Honor, I object. I ask you to stay your order pending the SJC. And there are other alternatives Your Honor can accomplish.
Well, that was pretty much that. And she was ordered held. Listen, it's not my position that anybody's personal. I'm not the suicidal. I don't believe anybody's personal life or the things that they can or can't do are anybody's freaking business. I'm very open with all of the health things that I go through myself. No, I know you don't. And believe me, there is no one that, she went through school with the kid, that's difficult. I did the same thing. I didn't go to nursing school, but I had my oldest very young, and she's, the one with the rare disease. And she's had it since she was a baby, and I had to go to school with that, and that was difficult. Believe me, I know how difficult. Sometimes there are circumstances beyond our control, and especially when you have more than one child under, not adults, minor children, and you're getting no help from anyone at all. And you have to deal with, in my case, health issues, or you're like, in my case, I take care of ill people, terminally ill people. It's a lot, it was a lot. And so nobody wants to use their training more than the people who have it. Believe you me. You know what I'm saying? Yes, no, the judge does not mess around. Clearly. Okay. Sorry, guys, we're buffering. The part of the problem, I think, yeah, that's not going to help either. The judge, I mean, here's the thing, as an attorney, you want to put on record that you're objecting, right? But also yelling as the judge is coming off the bench probably isn't smart. Go file the motion to reconsider. He did, as I understand it, file a motion to reconsider with the judge, and the judge denied that motion to reconsider. I don't think she's going to get the help she needs in jail. That's just the reality. We're dealing with postpartum and maybe other things. That's not going to happen in jail. It's the bottom line is the healthcare in a jail facility that isn't meant for jail is shit. It's just shit. Hey, Mark. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of help that someone needs when it comes to mental health. Listen, I have CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So instead of PTSD, which is like one trauma, I have many that I don't wish on my fucking worst enemy at all. And I think there is, like I said, no facility in Massachusetts for women that's a prison for mental health. We have that for men. I worked there. And even there are limitations on what we can do for them because it's a jail and they don't want certain medications that are controlled substances, or even ones that aren't. They think the inmates are going to sell or trade or cheek. And so there are limitations, although we did do things like music therapy and all sorts of different things to try to, there is no such thing as a one size fits all when it comes to mental health. What works for you might not work for me, and vice versa, right? So sitting in a jail cell, being locked in a cell, I would say is a detriment to postpartum depression. That's not going to help postpartum. Bottom line, it's going to just make it worse, right? I mean, like I said, I'm not arguing that the shooting wasn't justified. It was. She picked up a weapon when she was being served with a restraining order, and she's a trained officer. She knew exactly what would happen. The shooting was justified. What isn't justified is keeping her in prison when she needs mental health help. Once again, we don't have that for men. If there was a facility that could even attempt to help her, like there is for men, then maybe. But there just isn't in Massachusetts for women. There just is not. And our mental health system already needs so much work. You guys know this. I've talked about this a million times. It's not even just mental health. Regular healthcare is grossly inadequate in jail systems. It just is. It's shit. Okay. It's a little bit better at the prison I worked at, simply because they allowed private companies to take it over, and allowed us to do things like music therapy and other things like that you cannot do in a regular jail. But sitting in, a jail cell all day is not going to make postpartum depression any better. As a matter of fact, it's going to make it worse. Taking her child away, all of it. She could have remained on the ankle bracelet, and I don't know what the solution would have been to the scram, because they're not going to do urines, because urines require her to leave the house. They don't want her going too many places. That's why she's on the ankle monitor. And also alcohol can come out in about 2 hours. So they're not going to do urine. That's why they wanted scram, because it's a breath and not a urine. It's more accurate and goes further for a longer period of time. The problem is she can't breathe. She can't breathe, you know? That was half the problem, Brittany, was the show. The show was half the problem. The let's put on a show, let's make everything 10 times more, more of a show than just worrying about the client and what the client needs. And he screwed her. Do I think the judge was a little heavy-handed? Yeah, definitely a little heavy-handed. But ultimately, you started the thing by pissing off the judge. You also pissed her off when you filed 2 motions to do 2 separate things. You wanted the ankle monitor taken off for a surgery, but you didn't give any medical documentation that it needed to be taken off, because you can have surgeries with that monitor, the ankle monitor on. And then within 2 days or whatever she said, you were filing another motion to stop the scrim. So you basically are asking the judge to take all of the conditions that the judge allowed for this person to be out, right? And take them all away and have basically no conditions. That's not going to sit well with a judge. Now, maybe if he had a plan, right? Like usually an attorney will come up with a well thought out alternative, right? And say, Your Honor, what about this? And I get that he said, like, what about, I know there's urine testing, but again, the court did not, they were very firm on the fact they didn't want her leaving the house a lot. So they're not going to, like I said, they're not going to do urine testing for this, because that's the scram does a longer period of time. Now, the alcohol testing itself, again, is only even in there because the ex-fiance says she's a heavy drinker and becomes, has outbursts or whatever. But again, I've seen plenty of cases where they do this, where the charge has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol and the person is ordered into drug or alcohol therapy, even though the case has nothing to do with it, because someone alleged that they either use drugs or they could be using drugs or alcohol, or they could be using alcohol. And so the judge will just throw that in for good measure. So, I mean, the fact alone that the case has nothing to do with alcohol, could the judge get rid of the scram because of that? Yes. Do I think she's going to? No. She still picked up a weapon, right? And so that's, I think, had Bradel calmed his tone and his theatrics a little, that maybe the judge could have worked with him if he came in with a thought out plan, instead of doing this whole, it's a show, it's torture. You didn't have to go that far, my dude. Like, you could say it's uncomfortable, or even bring a simple letter. I mean, she's got to have a medical document that she's got the punctured lung. Just bring it in, or have her doctors write a letter that says that she's having, I mean, to me, again, it would be common sense that you can't breathe. Here's the thing. Judges should not be able to order things that they don't understand. If the judge does not understand that a scram device, and I would bet money that the judge doesn't actually know. I would bet money, because a lot of judges don't, how the device works. It's not just like, and you're done. You have to keep blowing into it and keep that flow of breath, or you won't get a result until it beeps. And that's seconds. We're not talking like 1 or 2 seconds. We're talking like an extended period of time of seconds. It's not something that's easy to do even for people who smoke. Never mind someone with a freaking punctured lung. But I think he did her no favors, in my opinion. Bradel didn't do her any goddamn favors. That for a lot of people, especially with depression, it becomes worse. It becomes worse. It becomes worse. It just does. It just freaking does. Morning. I don't think so. As far as we know, the only reason they put that in there was because of the allegations that the ex-fiance made. Exactly my point. That's what I told them earlier when you weren't here earlier. Think about a breathalyzer, right? If you've ever had to blow into one of those things, even as like some people have them just like for funsies at home. I've seen videos of people who are like, I brought this breathalyzer to see if I would pass it. And some of those videos are hilarious. Sorry. We are buffering. It's an extended period of time. It is not like a quick and you're done. You have to keep a certain amount of breath for StreamYard today is going to get a kick in the behind with this buffering BS. I'm not a fan right now. Yeah, so in New Hampshire, as a matter of fact, so talk about a state that does it that way. New Hampshire, they actually can order you to go to the hospital and get a blood test if you're pulled over for drinking and driving. Imagine that one. They don't do that here in Massachusetts, but they do in New Hampshire. I don't think it's feasible. A judge isn't gonna order, you know, a blood test multiple times a week. That's just not going to happen. But I think they should have come up with an alternative ahead of time, because sitting in a prison cell definitely is not going to help postpartum depression for sure. And I still have a huge problem with the ex here trying to put a lien on her home. That's freaking weird. That is not usually used. Interesting. See, I don't live in New Hampshire, obviously, so I don't know. Like, how's probable cause now? I mean, to be fair, there's definitely reasons that should happen anyway, just because a cop can realistically say anything is freaking probable cause, and sometimes they do. Well, as of this hearing, that was not in the record. The judge wrote that in the order. So as of the order that I read, there was no doctor's letter or anything like that in there. But again, even with the doctor's letter, the judge has to then say, these are the two things that she was ordered to do in order to be released. What can be in place of that? And so I think that's where the dilemma is what are you going to put in place of a scram? Because I can't even think of something that would be appropriate in place of the scram other than to get rid of it. And I don't think the judge is willing to do that. I don't think jail is going to help her situation. I think not being able to see her child is going to make it even worse. I think that she could have been on the monitor and gotten visitation, even if it was, they have visitation centers where there's people who watch you. The judge, I guess. I don't know, girl. I don't know. The judge. I don't know. That's what was ordered and agreed to when they released her. And that was the judge's sort of thing, was like, you agreed to this on the condition. These are the things that we said we agreed to for her to be released. If you're saying she can no longer do these things, then back she goes. And so that was the judge's argument, you know, a bit hasty, but judge's argument nonetheless. And also he kind of pissed off the judge by moving it in motion a couple days before that to have the ankle bracelet removed for a surgery. And then 2 days later asking for the scram to be done after only 3 days, I think it was. And I think he pissed the judge off by doing both of those things. No, not that I know of. Not one that would be like approved through the court system to use like that. I mean, there very well might be for medical reasons. No idea, but not one that would be approved to use like through court, you know? Yeah, that was a big mistake that he also made in this scenario. Are you guys, am I echoing? God damn it. Am I echoing? I don't know. That's something you have to take in consideration, guys. Is he telling the truth or is he not? I couldn't tell you. The one thing I never want to do, though, is say that a victim is lying. Because as a victim, having someone tell you you're lying when you're a victim is probably one of the worst things on planet Earth. So I would never say that a victim is lying. That's something that y'all have to decide for yourselves, whether the ex is telling the truth or not. But that was one of the things, Chris, right? The PTSD, right? One of his immediate arguments was, oh, hey, well, she's got all this anxiety about this whole thing Well, most defendants do. They don't want to go back to jail, right? So that's not an argument as to why the scram should be taken off, right? Is she has anxiety. That was so like a slap in the face to the judge and the court by being like, there's anxiety. She's so upset. Common sense, anybody would be. But you're telling that to a judge as if to sway the judge. And judges don't take that stuff kindly. To them, you're being a dick, right? You're stating the obvious for this Broadway production. And that's why it pissed the judge off, you know? She does definitely need some serious therapy. And, you know, obviously if it were up to me, that's what she would get. You know, inpatient intensive therapy, but in a way that would foster dealing with postpartum and not a way that just throws you up in a cell and throws the key away. This doesn't make sense. I don't know if the judge is just making a point and at some point expects to come to a different conclusion. The court has the ultimate say. So even if a probation officer agrees, the court has the ultimate say. And here's the thing. There may very well be things that we don't know, you know, and that the court does. And sometimes that weighs into their decisions. I don't know. But what I do know is I watched where he went wrong and where he would have pissed off the fucking judge. And I've seen him do it before. It's like, don't make those mistakes. Don't make it a narrative. Don't make it a Broadway production. Stick to the facts and the reasons why she needs X, Y, and Z, and then bring something to back it up. Not just an affidavit from her or her loved one, because most people are going to say, well, your loved one's going to lie for you anyway. It's the same thought process that runs through a judge's mind. But a doctor, a therapist, anybody else, anyone else, you know, get somebody to say, you know, it would have been easy enough to say that ankle bracelet has to come off for surgery. That should have been easy medical documentation to get and enter. As far as I know, that still was never entered. So that makes it look like to the judge that as the attorney, and unfortunately as the client, you're like what your attorney does reflects on you. So it makes it look like he was lying to the judge to get the ankle monitor removed, since you never brought in documentation saying that it needed to be removed, but you were insisting to the court it needed to be. And then you came in and tried to get the scram removed. So that's another reason why you'd be pissing off the judge, and why the judge doesn't trust your word. So it's a multitude of things. And in my opinion, he screwed his freaking client. Like the judge was heavy-handed. Yes, I agree. But he made some mistakes in pissing off the court, you know? Yeah, the two motions in the very short period of time. And again, one was to remove the ankle monitor for a surgery. But then as of the second hearing and even the motion to reconsider, the judge denied the motion to reconsider. And in the motion that she just, you know, wrote, literally says that she asked for medical documentation and did not get that medical documentation that the ankle bracelet needed to be removed to get surgery. So if he still didn't give her that, it just now will feel like to the judge that you were lying to get the ankle monitor removed. And then days later, you wanted to remove the scram. So basically you got your client out and then you wanted to remove piece by piece, each piece that, you know, the court put into place. That point, you're spitting in the judge's face and you're basically trying to play games with the court in the eyes of the judge. This is what I'm thinking. And this is why the judge, in my opinion, was so heavy-handed. She was not happy. I think she thought this was they were playing games. And, you know, the one thing I don't understand is someone shot in the chest, right? Common sense would say you're shot in the chest. You probably, you know, do have broken ribs and a punctured lung. Usually the court doesn't basically say like, oh, it's causing you pain. Oh, well, go back to jail. I think the judge could have found an alternative, but I'm not really sure that there was an alternative. And that might have weighed into the judge's decision on why she sent her back, at least for now, is to maybe look into another option. But I don't know what you would replace the scram with. I don't think the scram was 100% necessary to begin with. If the case has nothing to do with alcohol, I think the only thing that the alcohol was alleged was by the ex. And That, as far as I understand, is in the restraining order affidavit. But if there's no evidence of there being an alcohol problem, why does the scram even need to exist? Here's the thing. It's a he said, she said at this point, and what it looked like to the court was that Mr. Bradel was trying to get one over on the court. And because he made more theatrics out of it, it's torture, she's anxiety-ridden, upset. That further pissed off the judge to the point where there was no return on that one. So, I mean, to me, it would have been common sense, right? And I've privately talked to a million people about this, and I think one out of the maybe 24 people who work in that field I've talked to agreed with me. We're like, the judge was a little heavy-handed, but it also looked like to the judge that Bradel was trying to get one over on the judge, which is why the judge reacted the way the judge did. Can't win them all, unfortunately. But I do hope, at the very least, the judge will take another look at it, or maybe they'll get a different judge at some point, because just sitting her in a prison cell and leaving her there to rot is not going to help her. It just isn't. Bottom line, it just is not going to help her. It's going to make her postpartum depression and anything else that she's got going on worse. They've already taken her child. You're asking for a lien on her home. I mean, it's crazy to me. Yeah, I bet he's a little more expensive though. I'm guessing he's more dollars. I'm guessing he's more dollars. You know what I mean? I think that's the sort of, it needed here's the thing. If the pain had happened in the first when they were installing it and she was doing like the test blows and stuff, Bradel should have put it in the first motion. Not waited to file a second, and should have had all his ducks in a row when he did it, No, I get exactly what you mean. The sort of more calmed down version of getting the facts across without doing all the grandstanding. And again, grandstanding might impress some judges, but 99% of them do not appreciate it, because it's basically you spitting in their face or kicking them in the balls by acting like they're not smart enough to know what the fuck's going on. And they don't like it. They don't like it. Most of them do not find it hee ha funny. And I think ultimately he screwed his client, and it's unfortunate because it's not her fault. But again, the court sees your attorney as an extension of you. So when they say your client is asking for this and this, when your attorney files those motions, it's you asking for it. That's how it works. So, I think they absolutely are. I think something else got to happen. Something else has to happen for her. Sitting in jail cell ain't it. I don't think she's built for jail, and her mental health surely is not. Most people's aren't. It's not conducive to getting better in any way, shape, or form. Is sitting in a jail cell. It's unfortunate because there's nothing any of us can do to change it. But I do hope that someone will take a second look at it and say she needs actual mental health help, not to sit in a jail cell. How is that jail cell going to help her health now? Because you're going to get, again, healthcare in jail is shit. She was shot in the chest. I'm assuming she still has appointments, surgeries, whatever. And where they might bring her into a hospital to get a surgery, it's not so comfortable when you're, chained to the bed, right? So, and you're not going to get the, like visiting nurses or the, you're in a recovery room. You're going to get sent back to the jail to lay in your bunk in a cell and only go and see the nurse there when you put in a slip and go through a rigmarole. It's just not. They need to do better. They just do. Well, that was the problem, right? The theatrics. Theatrics was half the problem. There was no need for all of the theatrics, and that it was very obvious that it pissed off the judge. The judge did not like it, did not appreciate it, and was like, yeah, no, we're not doing all that. Like, we are not doing all that. So this let's see. I think there is a this is when she was released. It's only like 3 minutes of him. I think hold on. Trying to see. I highly disagree. He did too much theatrics. He filed 2 motions in a very short period of time, essentially removing all the conditions that the court put into play. That's going to piss off the judge, you know. What a lawyer should do for their client is make sure they have their ducks in a row. You know, their T's crossed and their I's dotted, and didn't do that in this case. Just didn't. I mean, yeah, a lot of them are theatrical, but it's the narrative part that he goes overboard with. You know, judges want to see it in front of them. They don't want to hear you say it. They want to see the proof. And they certainly don't want you to point out the obvious, because you're essentially telling the court they're too stupid to know the obvious. Judges do not fucking appreciate that even a little bit. Let me see. I'm trying to find where. Maybe this is where the. So it says. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, nobody wants to buy your digital bullshit here. Get the hell out of here. There was Boston.com. Oh, for fuck's sake, nobody wants to buy your shit. Kelsey Fitz Simmons claimed that her injuries prevented her from submitting to alcohol testing. A judge ordered her to return to jail, saying that testing was needed to ensure public safety. She was first released on Monday, months after a fellow North Andover police officer shot her during an armed confrontation. She is now back in custody in the Western Mass Regional Women's Correctional Center. That incident occurred when officers arrived at her residence to serve a restraining order filed by her fiance. A police report alleges that Fitzsimmons aimed a weapon at one of the officers, causing him to fear for his life and shoot Fitzsimmons in the chest. Fitzsimmons tells a contradictory version of events, where she never pointed a weapon at the other officer, but instead attempted and failed to take her own life. But agreeing that she had the weapon is what she did. And so it's common, like, you can't pull a weapon with an officer, like, unless you want to get shot. I mean, it's, you know, it's unfortunate, but I mean, she knew from her own training that you don't do that, dude. You just don't. You do not do that. So instead attempted and failed to take her own life. Fitzsimmons gave birth in February and struggles with postpartum depression. She and her lawyers have said she faces 1 charge of assault with a dangerous weapon and has pleaded not guilty. She was released on a number of conditions, including that she not have contact with her son, wear a GPS monitoring device, move into her mother and stepfather's home, and regularly submit to alcohol testing. On Tuesday, Fitzsimmons' lawyer filed court documents requesting that she not be subject to the alcohol testing. Fitzsimmons suffered severe lung, diaphragm. Why did that just pull down? Diaphragm and liver damage, along with broken ribs after the shooting. She was hospitalized for more than 50 days and continues to suffer pain and difficulty breathing, they wrote. Due to these injuries, she can only sporadically blow into the alcohol testing device, and doing so causes severe abdominal pain and dizziness. On Thursday, Judge Kathleen McCarthy Neiman ruled Fitzsimmons must return to jail because she cannot comply with the alcohol testing condition. Without this condition, the court cannot assure the safety of the officer who shot Fitzsimmons or the wider community. In her order,
The judge referenced the affidavit Fitzsimmons' fiance filed when applying for the restraining order. He wrote about an incident on June 28th in Maine, just 2 days before the shooting. Fitzsimmons celebrated her bachelorette party. She grew heavily intoxicated and physically aggressive, her fiance alleged. In his affidavit, he said that Fitzsimmons' erratic behavior had caused him to fear for his life and the life of their child. Fitzsimmons' lawyers have said that her fiance's affidavit was full of hearsay and self-serving allegations. They also accused the NAPD of a botched response when serving the restraining order. Fitzsimmons' legal team is pushing McCarthy-Neiman to reconsider her ruling. In documents filed later on Thursday, they said that the judge could instead order her to submit to alternative alcohol testing via urine samples. There's a testing facility near her residence, and her family could easily drive her there whenever testing is needed, they wrote. Keeping Fitzsimmons in jail could harm her health and expose her to other dangers. The court's revocation. Why would they write that? Expose her to other dangers. That was a mistake. I mean, it's common sense. It's a jail. Of course, a jail is going to expose you to dangers. You're in jail. Durr. You know, durr. Durr. Like, don't put that in there. Don't do it. Like, just don't put that part in. You can say it's going to harm her health, but expose her to other dangers. Everyone in a prison is exposed to other dangers. I think that's the part that's like pissing off the judge. The court's revocation of all conditions to send the defendant back to jail is worse by far than even requiring her to submit to the alcohol testing device, her lawyers wrote. Aside from her total loss of liberty, the defendant is a police officer and former corrections officer who would face serious risk of bodily harm in such a facility. Well, that's why they have specific places for you for that, but I don't, again, agree that she should be there. Well, the judge did, but ultimately it's up to the court. So the probation officer can agree with every single thing that Bradel said. It's not up to the probation officer. The problem is it's ultimately up to the court, the judge, on what is decided. It is not up to anyone else, even if they agree. Now, usually when they agree on something, the judge does usually go by the recommendation of the agreeing parties, but they have the option not to. I've seen it a million times. It doesn't happen often, but it happens, you know? Well, that's the performance is the problem, right? The extra, the extra, the show is the part that you don't need. It's going to hurt your clients, especially with a judge like that, you know? No, I don't think they have body cams in North Andover. It wasn't state police. So as far as I know, there was no body cams, you know? I mean, how do you not be in contact with you? It's just weird to me for a judge to order that. It's a newborn. What contact are you really going to have? You're not going to have it on the phone. And there should be at least supervised testing. I mean, supervised visitation, you know? But, yep. Yes. Yeah, I know. But that happens all the time in Massachusetts. Literally. I don't know. Again, they didn't say anything about there being a BAC draw from the hospital, but they didn't put it in any of the paperwork. It's not in like the motion, the answer to like the motion that the judge wrote or anything like that. So they very well, like I said, could have that. It's part of a medical record, so their judge could have it, but there's no writing of it being there. Well, I mean, the court would argue that she's not only a danger to herself, she picked up a weapon. So I think that's what the judge's argument is. I think she's probably a danger to herself and she needs mental health help postpartum. But the court, you know, they're going to take it as she picked up a weapon. So if you're picking up a weapon with an officer present, you're endangering multiple people. And that's basically what the court ordered. It's just still weird to me the way these courts order alcohol and drug testing when no alcohol or drugs were said to have been involved. I mean, I've seen it happen a million times though. Like I said, I've watched them order people into drug rehabs when their cases have nothing to do with drugs and they have never been drug addicts a day in their life. I've also seen them order people who never used drugs but got caught like selling weed into drug rehab facilities when they don't do drugs, but they sold them. I've also seen them order alcohol testing for people who don't drink, but someone made a false allegation that they act crazy when they drink, and therefore they had to submit to these alcohol testings that cost them time and money and were purposeless, cost the state time and money because they were always negative. I've watched the court basically do what it wants. The problem in Massachusetts is that we don't vote our judges in, so there's no real accountability for them. They just do whatever they want, realistically, you know. No, sorry, wrong. I want an attorney that knows what they're doing. I do not want them to perform. I do not want them to grandstand and take on a judge. No, I do not. I want them to know the facts of the case. I want them to fight for my freedom. But what I don't want them to do is piss off the judge. Probably the worst mistake you could make as an attorney is to piss off the judge. I do not want them to perform the way he does. No, I do not. That's absolutely not what I want my attorney to do. Because then you just risk pissing off the judge and losing all your motions by pissing off the judge. I want my attorney to know the facts of the case and argue the facts of the case. I do not want my attorney to grandstand and perform in a way that is extra, like he's on a Broadway musical. I don't want him turning around and looking at the audience and not the judge. I don't want him telling a narrative of things he can't prove. I do not want my freaking attorney doing that shit because it is not going to help me. It is going to hurt me. I agree with that statement. Every officer should have a body camera, period. I think every government entity that interacts with the public should have a body camera, period, in my opinion. Right. Like, why would I want my lawyer to piss off the judge? You do not want to piss off the person deciding your motions. You do not want to piss off the judge overseeing a trial of yours. That's a bad idea. It's a horrible idea. Most attorneys would tell you that. That's not very smart. You do not want to do that. Hold on a second. Let me get this off the screen here. Thank you, Mark. Again, I appreciate you, my friends. I know I was on a rant. I didn't do this morning, but if anybody else would like to donate, I'd appreciate it. We only survive on you guys' donations to the channel. So you can do so one of a bunch of different ways. It's in the description as well on the video, but we have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut for those of you out of country. And there's a link in chat, that you can just use a regular good old debit or credit card on and enter your own amount as you see fit. We got a workaround for those of you that have iPhones to get your memberships to the channel. This little QR code up here in the top corner here, this little guy, if you scan that with your phone, it'll bring you with your iPhone so that you can buy a membership, because for some reason, Androids let you do it, but devices don't, which is so strange to me. So weird. I don't know why they do that, but that's your workaround for that, to be able to get your membership to the channel, is this little QR code right here. There is a ticker on the bottom of the screen. It ticks by throughout the entire stream, and it's really small, and I wish StreamYard would let us make it a little bigger because people miss it all the time. And they're like, can you put the information on the screen? And I'm like, it's on the screen. It's on the bottom. I'm like, I missed it. Like, it's right below the big one here. But we rely solely on the donations of you guys to run the channel. And it's been tough lately. You know, there's no good trials happening right now. I've been dealing with a lot of health issues with the family, and my own for that matter. And so it has been difficult. Sorry, I'm trying to get... And my computer's being difficult today as well. Yeah, Haverhill, I believe. Yeah. Also, I got one after the stream with Sean the other day. It was $25, and I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't know if they want their name mentioned or not. And if I don't know that, you want your name mentioned or not, I don't usually do it because some people want to remain anonymous, which is totally okay. But it was for $25, and I'm going to read the comment because it was such a nice comment. I really appreciated it. And it warmed my heart. You know, it's rare that I get a donation once the stream is over, but when it happens sometimes, it makes my heart happy because it's always something with such a nice, like, a nice little like saying or a nice little tidbit
and kind comment, and those are the little things, right? Like, it doesn't matter if the donation is $3 or $1. It's the message that people send with them. It always gets me. Like, it always gets me right there, because it's people taking the time to think about the channel means a lot to me in general. You know, we're just a little channel. We're not a very big channel. We don't get a lot of donations. It's very hard to cover costs. And so when you guys do think of me, it makes me feel good. It was okay. So the comment was, thanks for your work to bring us the news and your genuine kindness for humanity. You walk the walk. And I just want to say to that person, thank you very much for that the other day. It made my night when I read it. It was a very sweet comment, and it means quite a bit to me. You know, it's important for me to say thank you when someone donates, because again, we're just a little small channel. And so it doesn't happen a whole lot. And people take the time out of their day to say, you know, I appreciate the content, or I love the community, I love the people in the community. And it's it's their way of saying thank you to me. And for all the hundreds of people that watch, I mean, there's over 300 people right now watching us on just X alone, which most of the people for some reason do watch on X. But it means a great deal to have people take the 3 minutes it takes out of their day to send a donation, even when I'm not live anymore, even when they can't jump into the chat and talk with everybody because it's already over, that they still take the time to send that. It means a lot to me. And so I just want to say, like, I appreciate that. Like, it always makes my day. All right, moving on. See if I can get, what in the hell? Oh God, I keep getting these spam emails that say mail delivery subsystem. That only happens when you send an email and then it's like the email address doesn't exist there anymore. But I keep getting these spam ones now, which is like, why? Why? For the love of God, why? All right, let's see. What in the heck? I'm trying to find so I can read from it. If I can do that. Let's see. Also, the let me see if I can pull that up as a matter of fact. Hold on. Pull this up here. Oops.
No billionaire wants you to see this. These new billboards are popping up.
It's on my thing here, but I can't. I want to get it onto the screen here for you guys.
We the workers, and they, the oligarchs, the billionaires.
So I don't know, my phone's like not cooperating. According to the sewer turtle in his mega motion that he tells people, I don't know why my phone is not cooperating. I give up. I've tried to close it 3 times and it just keeps like popping up. So cool. According to said mega motion, you guys are gonna love this. He outlines in his quote mega motion what dates people stopped liking him, at least the dates that he claims that people stopped liking him, and literally brings to the court a like thing of like screenshots of people's like posts of when they stopped supporting him. Now, mind you, people who stopped supporting him throughout this entire thing who have nothing to do with his criminal cases. They have zero to do with his criminal cases. I don't know what attorney would ever tell a client that that's a good idea. Hey, bud, let's put in our motion to the judge all the people that don't like you now and the dates they started to not like you, and then present to the court that they just don't like you because it's turtle derangement syndrome, which, by the way, doesn't exist. Okay. Doesn't exist. Okay. It's a thing he made up.
Presenting to the court the reasons why people who are not even involved in your criminal cases and have nothing to do with anything don't like you is going to be hilarious in my book. Judge doesn't care. You cannot present why you think each person doesn't like you. That would be their state of mind, right? That's just would be hearsay. And what does it have to do with your criminal cases? The judge is going to look at it and be like, and what does this have to do with the crimes you are alleged to have committed, sir? I don't even know what to say. It's so ridiculous because I can't imagine advising my client that that would ever be a good idea. Hey, client, right? Definitely. We should definitely put in our mega motion all these people on YouTube and other random people who are friends with your victim. We should definitely put in the dates that they supported you and then the dates that we think they stopped supporting you, and tell the court that they just don't like me anymore because of turtle derangement syndrome, and that's why. Like we should do that. Like we should do that. We should do that. That's what we should do. That's a wicked smart idea. The judge is going to look at it and be like, what does this actually have to do with the crimes you're alleged to have committed, sir? Anyone. McFly. What? Huh? Like, what? Like, what? And, the court was nice last time when they basically told him to, like, stop sending his ridiculous, federal letters. Like, they were being nice, okay? They were like, hey, if you want, file it in a motion, which, by the way, he didn't do. They're not going to be so nice next time, right? Next time, they're just going to bar you from filing ridiculous nonsense that has nothing to do with anything, like letters, unless you're going to put it in a fucking motion, because nobody wants to read letters that have they're not worth the paper they're written on to a court. They're literally worth nothing. No evidentiary value, nothing. Literally nothing. So, I'm not really sure what the actual F they were thinking, to be honest. To me, it seemed more like just yes man stuff. Like, sure, Stuart, just do whatever you want. Put it in there. We'll give it to the judge. No problem. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Because I cannot, in my brain, understand how anyone would think putting that in any sort of motion is going to help them in any way. What it's going to do is, a matter of fact, show the court that you have no problem targeting the victim, one of the named victims, friends or people who support them. That's not a good look. It's not a good look, dude. It's not it's not a good look to the court. If it has absolutely nothing to do with the crimes you're alleged to have committed, why the fuck would you put it in a motion if it has nothing to do with the crimes that you are alleged to have committed? When someone decided they didn't like your bullshit lies anymore, when they figured out you were a liar and then were like, holy shit, I was supporting a fucking liar, is not relevant in any way, shape, or form. You cannot present to a court someone else's state of mind or reason for doing something. I mean, you can try, but the judge is just going to laugh and be like, you can't present what someone else thinks and why. Only they can. And adding in a bunch of random people that have nothing to do with anything whatsoever when it comes to your cases, it is not a good look to the court. It's going to show the court that all you really care about is putting petty nonsense into court motions as revenge tactics. It's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. And I can't imagine my attorneys being like, this is a great idea. As a matter of fact, any competent attorney would say, do not put that in there. Judges do not like tit for tat. They do not. They don't fucking like it. They don't want it to be a game. They don't want tit for tat. They want facts. They want to know what the actual hell is going on and why they should do X, Y, or Z. Why they should grant your motion, why they should do. They don't give a shit what you think someone else thinks. That makes that whole part irrelevant to a judge. Completely irrelevant. Why would you put that in a motion? What competent attorney would ever think that that's a fucking good idea? If you didn't only care about fame, right, or media, you would never allow your friggin' client to put something like that in a motion. And I think they think because it's Judge Doolin, that Judge Doolin is just gonna go and be like, sure, this is exactly why people don't like you because you said so. And sure, motion to dismiss it all because you said that. No, sir. That's no, it's not the way it works. And I just don't understand how any competent attorney would think that that's some bright idea. To me, it just makes no logical sense. And then you just, risk your attorneys looking like idiots, you looking like an idiot, and the judge sort of slapping you on the hand in court by being like, I don't want to see this shit in this shit again. Don't do it. Don't bring this shit to my courtroom like that. It blows my mind, the shit that they do to just get it on the docket to like create hype. That's not what dockets are meant for. That's not what motions are meant for. When you add a bunch of random people that have nothing to do with anything, okay, into your motion, and it has no real relevance to the crimes that you are alleged to committed, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing yourself any favors. As a matter of fact, you're only hurting your own case by doing that. They do not like this tit for tat BS. They just don't. They just don't. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's amazing to me the lengths people will go, you know? You should care more about the time in jail that you could possibly spend than trying to get petty revenge on people you don't like. Yeah, that too. You should be worried more about that. Yeah, but in that case, those like the people they were doing it to were like family members of, the witnesses. These connections have nothing to do with anything other than when people started figuring out that he wasn't a decent human being, that he pretended to be, and that he did some really awfully shitty shit and lied a whole lot. They decided, holy shit, I can't support someone who's that vile, right? Once they figured out it was that easy for him to lie about them, they had to start going back and realizing what else he lied about. You can call that whatever you want. You can call it turtle derangement syndrome. That doesn't exist. That syndrome does not exist. You can call it people getting information and figuring out you're not a good person. You could call it Elmo for all I give a shit. It changes nothing. You don't get to tell the state of mind of someone else in a court. That's not the way it works. The reason people didn't support you anymore is because of your own actions, your own lying, sir. Has nothing to do with, well, they magically didn't like you for no reason. They didn't like you because they realized if you could lie about them that easily, how much else could you be lying about? And then they went and did their homework and realized, holy shit, I'm supporting a monster. A monster.
And they were like, I can't support that. Holy fucking shit. Holy shit. To try to bring to the court someone else's state of mind and try to tell the court why other people magically don't like you. People that have no involvement in your cases at all, by the way. It just makes you look like a petty asshole to the court, and it has no relevance to your case whatsoever. The judge doesn't care who likes you or why. The answer before them is the crimes you have alleged to commit and why they either need to okay said motion or not okay said motion on legal grounds, not on petty revenge grounds, not on, I don't like this person, so just make sure that you give me what I want, judge. This person just doesn't like me. That has nothing to do with this case. And all these people don't like me because I need you to okay my motion. What? How do you think it's going to help you in court is what I'd like to know. All of the petty revenge and putting it in motions, the court is going to see exactly for what it is. If the attorneys were competent enough and didn't care more about feeding trolls online and, media attention to get other clients, they would have never allowed something like that in a motion to be put in front of a judge. Bottom line. The court is not dumb. Judges are not stupid. They have to decide based upon the law, not based upon his fifis or what he thinks other people's fifis are, based upon the law and legal precedent. He needs to know why he should or shouldn't, based on legalities, allow or disallow your motion. As far as I know, yes, but I don't think it's going to be televised, but there is no confirmation yet whether it's going to be or not. The best I can do is get it after it's over. So there is a online sort of, let's call it a portal, that you can get all of the audio from a court case pretty quickly. You gotta pay for it, but whatever. And I could get that audio after it happens. So worst case scenario, we'll just get the audio. Sometimes you can get it that day, so I'll attempt to. If we can't, we'll just get it the next morning and listen to it that way. If it is not streamed anywhere or put on any news, then I will just do it that way. Sometimes we can get the video and the audio if the court has it. If the court only does audio, then you can only get the audio. So we'll see. I'll get what I can on it. Plymouth County. It's going to be Plymouth County. It would be Plymouth County, not Norfolk. It would be Plymouth County. As far as I understand, it's Plymouth County. So I will get what I can get for that hearing. If it is, if Fox 25 decides to pick it up and the judge allows them in there, then cool, great. We'll just go with that. If not, I'll get the audio afterwards. It's here's the thing, right? When you're dealing with really big court cases, right, there's always going to be a bunch of people that jump on for numerous reasons. They're interesting, they're nearby where you live, or there's something about that case that speaks to you either from the victim's side or the defendant's side. Like there's a multitude of reasons that people sort of flock to a case. This case, the Karen Read case, has created so much division, so much anger, so much hatred that I have never seen in another case. It's unfortunate and it's sad. And realistically, it shouldn't happen. But it is. It is happening. And it continues. Why? Why does it continue? Well, all these people that got really big paydays from, covering this case, you start to see your numbers go down when you're not covering a big case anymore. The numbers get lower and lower until you cover another big case. It's just the way it works, statistics. People aren't interested in smaller, not exciting cases. So they wait for one that is.
So while that happens, your YouTube or your numbers are going to get lower. That means your dollars are going to get lower because they don't really pay shit for views. Let's just get real. It's the way, YouTube works. They don't really pay much for views. Almost nothing. Where getting paid comes from is your donations, super chats, super stickers, and memberships. That's it, right? If those are lowering, they're going to try to find something else. They haven't tried to find something else. They keep covering the Karen Read case when it's been long over because they're still looking for that gravy train. It's unfortunate. It really is. Because I feel like had you not had some of these people sort of leading that hateful charge, that you probably would have gotten someone less angry, someone less with less hate in their heart and vitriol. And it wouldn't have been us versus them, sort of, you don't agree with this side, that side doesn't agree with this side, so let's destroy each other, right? Yeah, the wrongful death case is the civil, the one that's coming up. But the criminal case itself caused so many people to go through hell. And it's not okay. That's the bottom line. If you found yourself doing and saying things during that case in that trial that you wouldn't normally say or do to people, you should probably take a step back and ask yourself why. Because if someone's cheering you on to act that way, that's a huge freaking problem. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta grab something. Sorry, I need to grab a water. My throat's starting to hurt, and I probably am getting sick again because the kids keep bringing that crap home from school. So I needed a water. The amount of anger that people feel towards each other when it comes to this case is not normal. It's not normal. I mean, that's how it's going to be, right? It's going to be jumping on whatever thing they think is going to make the big bucks. Again, I will always say creators obviously should be paid for their time, but don't just jump on something because everyone else is. And don't say things that aren't true just because someone else said them, right? You can cover a case and give your own opinion without giving into this idea that it has to be exactly what other people say. If you lose viewers because you're actually giving your own genuine opinion, so be it. So be it. If you are okay with having viewers that just want to be told echo chambers full of the same people saying the same thing, I guess that's your business. What I want is people who have their own opinions and use their own minds, but aren't angry and mean towards other people. The kind of anger we have seen digging into people's personal lives, trying to, quote, destroy people that the sewer turtle doesn't like. He doesn't have to like anyone. He doesn't have to like me. He doesn't have to like any of you in chat. He doesn't have to like any of you watching. And I don't have to like him. But the way he sends people to do his bidding, and they don't even realize it, is gross. Okay? If you are attacking someone just because he said they're bad, or he said they did something, do you ever ask yourself why? Do you ever ask yourself why? Like, did you ever freaking ask yourselves why? I mean, come on. Common sense. Are you doing it because you think you're going to get a pat on the back from him? He's going to let you into his inner circle. You're going to be friends. Kee hee ha ha. It's so funny. I harmed somebody. I said awful things about them. It's hilarious, right? I mean, if that's how you think about the world, that's sad. I'm a people person. I happen to like people in general. And I think there are a lot of missed friendships and relationships that people could have had. I've had some great conversations with people who believe that Karen Read is innocent, and I will never believe that she's innocent, but I can have those conversations with them. And I think there's so many missed friendships and missed connections and missed opportunity of people that hated each other because they were told to. You should never just hate someone because someone told you to, right? And most of you guys know, who watch me all the time, most of you guys know I will stand for what I think is right. And I will always say what they did to Essie was wrong. It was bullying. It was wrong. What they did to Jen O'Donnell was wrong. It's bullying. It was wrong. It'll always be wrong. You cannot just make up a petty reason to not like someone to hide the real reason why you're attacking them, which is 99.999% why he does it, right? And then attack someone based upon things that you know are lies. Tell everybody that's why. And then not know that it's bullying. When you're sending DMs threatening people to not tell the truth about you and get offline. If you don't, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Stop talking about this. If you don't, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. When you have to go to the level of harassing people, but then you have to threaten them, innocent people don't threaten people, guys. Okay? Innocent people do not threaten people. They don't try to blackmail them. They don't scream at them on the phone and tell them what they can and can't do and why. An innocent person would have no reason to do that. You would only act that way if you're hiding something. At some point along the way, I think a lot of people took a look at themselves and looked in the mirror and said, is this what I want to be? Is this how I want to behave? And some people figured out they didn't want to behave that way. They didn't want to just hate people because someone told them to. They didn't just want to take someone's word for something. And the people that decided they were going to get to know people on their own. There are a lot of people that are owed a lot of fucking apologies. Lindsay is owed a lot of apologies. Estie's owed some apologies. I'm owed a lot of apologies. Julie's owed some apologies. Karen from True Crime and Ryan is owed some apologies. There's a lot of fucking people owed some goddamn apologies. Bottom line. Okay? There's a lot of fucking people owed apologies. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I've gotten quite a few of those apologies. Quite a few of them. And some people just disappear when they realize they were played. You know? It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. It sucks. You know? That sucks.
Sorry, guys. I was getting some incoming information. Right? I mean, listen, to be fair, Benny, I didn't think for a couple years I would ever get apologies. Ever. Actually, I think you're right, DJ. I think she did go over to Plymouth County at some point, right? But not in, I don't know, did she go to civil? But I think she did. She did go to Plymouth, but I don't know if she went to civil. Girl, where's my food? I'm starving. But I didn't think there was a chance in hell I would get those apologies. People were too dug in to realize they were wrong. And then they started happening little by little. People started figuring out they were wrong. And they started actually doing their homework and digging in and feeling really shitty about things that they said or did to me or about me. And the people that grew the balls to apologize, I have respect for someone that grows balls enough to apologize to someone that they think they really screwed or did something horrible to or said something horrible about, because that takes a lot of guts, right? Takes a lot of guts. So I respect the hell out of somebody apologizing to someone else. It's not done nearly enough as it should be. But I'm hoping that people maybe stop and take a look at why they're being so hateful. Like, for what reason? What would be the reason? You know? What would be the reason? What would be the reason? Do you actually hate that person because they did something to you or they're so bad? Or did you hate that person because someone fucking told you to? Because someone told you they're bad and someone said they're crazy, they're a scammer. All the same 5 things that have been said about people for the last 10 years, right? They're a liar. They didn't do this or they did this or they didn't do that. And do you ever see a pattern of those exact same things all the time being said about pretty much anyone? It's not hard, right? It's not hard to figure out what the fuck is actually going on when you step back from it. It's when you're in it that you can't see it. That's the problem. It's when you're in it. It's when you're fucking in it. That's exactly it. It's misguided hatred. Misguided. She did go to civil. I knew she had went to Plymouth, but I wasn't sure if it was civil. But she did, huh? That's interesting. That's freaking interesting. That is freaking interesting. It is misguided, for sure. And it kind of makes me laugh sometimes, you know, when you get a troll that just like randomly spits out shit that makes no logical sense. And you know that they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about when they say it. It kind of makes me chuckle a little because it's like they say like the same 6 things to me. All completely false and misguided, for sure. I just have to sometimes sit back and send a screenshot to someone else and be like, LOL, look at this idiot. They're saying it again, because it just proves that if someone says something to you over and over and over enough, that you will repeat it like it's a fact, when it is in fact 100% false. You're just proving that you're an easily led person, that it's easy for anyone to tell you anything and you'll believe it if you say it enough. Someone saying it a million times doesn't magically make it true. Someone saying DJ is bad a million times over doesn't make it true. You know, someone saying Jesse doesn't make good food a billion times does not make it true. It's not the way it works. It's just not. The faster people figure that out. It's funny because most of the people that do come and apologize to me said I had to take a step back. And it was only when I took that step back and I got off social media and I came out of it and I actually stopped listening to anyone. And I started talking to people I didn't think that like I would ever have a conversation with because they were so, you know, stern. that I started to realize, like, wait a second, hold on. They're actually giving me proof of something, right? I've had many people come to me and be like, well, I believe this, where's the proof? And I'm like, here it is. And they're like, oh shit, I never saw this before. And I'm like, but it's been out there this whole time. Would have been easy for you to find. But I was told this, and this person said it, and this person said it, and this person said it, and this person said it. So it must be true. Where is this? Where did you find this? Tell them where I got it, right? Public information. And they're like, I didn't know this existed, Elise. This changes a lot. But you just told me you were told by 17 people that the complete opposite of what I just showed you publicly, right? The evidence, the proof. People are just used to being told what to think and what to do. And it's only when people take that step back that they realize, like, holy shit. Not only was I lied to, but I was sort of forced into not liking people just because someone else said so. I'm a grown-ass adult. Nobody's going to tell me who I can or can't talk to, who I can or cannot be friends with, who I'm going to like. That's not going to happen. Look at how many people loved some of those YouTubers that ultimately changed their opinion on the Karen Read case. People freaking loved them until the sewer turtle told them not to. Multitude of people until he told them not to. It says more about the people jumping on the bandwagon than it does really anything else. That all you have to be told is why not to like someone and you're in on it. Like, come on. Yeah, I mean, why Plymouth of all places? Why? Why would Judge Cannoni go to Plymouth? I mean, as far as I understand, there's already a judge on the case, so I don't think it would be realistic for her to get it. But I never freaking know. Never know. Oh, no. No freaking way. Because they took the kid's cell phone. See, that's exactly why my youngest does not have a cell phone, okay? Because I don't think kids at that age need cell phones. They just don't. So she was the chief justice of over in Norfolk. So I don't, if she moved over to Plymouth, it might have just been, she could just be doing like a rotation or a fill-in for a judge that's no longer there. Oh my God. Top to bottom fridge flipped. That's no good. That's definitely not. Uh-oh. That must be one really pissed off child to be flipping over fridges and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Be flipping over fridges. I mean, it doesn't. She could be doing a fill-in for a judge over there. I think what people need to realize is that criminal case was over a long time ago, right? It's over. It's been over. Continuing to go on and on every single day in every stream about that case isn't going to, keep them in the limelight. It's having these streams where they just, disparage other people constantly. It's not going to make them, money in the long term. It might make people clap like seals now, but long term, they don't want to hear about the same thing over and over, the same people you don't like over and over, the same people you make fun of. Eventually, people lose interest in the whole let's make fun of other grown adults thing. Because A, it's mean, and B, for most of those people doing it, it's based on a dog whistle that another grown man blew for them to do it. There's a reason why I don't bother, Yeah, see, that means it's an imposter, Michael. That means it's somebody pretending to be me on Twitter. I only have one Twitter account, obviously. You know this. It's at Twisted Tragedy 3. I mean, they do it all the time. These accounts where they use them to like make fun of people. It's disgusting. It's gross. I don't know what purpose they think it serves, really. They do it to be mean. It's like, you're a grown adult. You're acting like you're a kid in middle or high school. That's pretty sad. Maybe, just maybe,
You don't need dog whistles from another grown adult to attack people you don't even know. The fact that they keep doing it. Oh, yeah, there's plenty of them out there. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. All the time. Not the first time, won't be the last time. Will not be the freaking last time, that's for sure. I think the part that gets me the most is all the fake accounts that were made to bully people, like SC. SC didn't need to be bullied by fake accounts. You don't have to be friends with someone. You don't have to like them, but you certainly don't have to be a bully. You certainly don't have to be a bully. There's no real reason, right? You can just not talk to them if you don't like them. You know what I mean? You could just move on. Yeah, well, you are right, Jane. Supposed grown man. As we know, it's not really grown now, is he? I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to like someone, but what makes you think that it's okay to be a bully? It's amazing to me that some of these people do it, because if it was done to them in the capacity that it's done to other people, they'd be running to the police station, begging the police to do something for them, while they say the opposite because it hasn't happened to them. You know? No, you can't see Michaels because he's on Twitter. That's why you can't see him, because he's on Twitter. And anybody I have like blocked on Twitter, they don't pop up anyway. They write into the abyss, and they seem to think that like anybody can see them, but nobody can. Nobody can. They just write into the abyss thinking people can see them. On the people that I've muted and blocked. Yeah, there is a lot of freaking hate out there. You are freaking right about that, my friend. You are freaking right about that. 100%. It's really just sad. It just goes to show you what you're dealing with other grown adults, right? That they're willing to act like fucking buffoons, and make a fool out of themselves, harassing, insulting other grown adults. Because, man, they obviously don't know. Told them to. Or showed them how to. Or gave the dog whistle by mentioning the person's name so that they will. The fact alone that some of these people don't realize that just mentioning someone else's name they don't realize that mentioning someone else's name is the dog whistle. As soon as you mention someone else's name, they automatically go after that person. It's the same thing you've been doing for 10 years. The fact that you're answering a dog whistle as a grown adult like that is pretty sad. You know? No, I don't think so. I highly doubt that. There's already a judge that's overseeing it, so I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. It's unfortunate that this is the kind of shit that people think is okay to do. But it's reality. It's reality. It's what they do. You know? Best I can tell you is keep your head on a swivel, you know? The people that think it's okay to do that aren't always okay here. And it's not an excuse by any means. And I have seen people obviously, you know, change the way they act later on and be very shameful of the things that they've done and said later on. What I think is the saddest is the people that continue doing it on and on and on for even multiple years and never realize, like, eventually this is going to, like, they're going to find out the truth. And when they do, they're going to feel shitty inside. It never crosses their mind. Not for a second. It never crosses their mind that, hold on a second, I might be lied to. I might be told to hate somebody, but what's the motivation? The person who's telling me to hate or directing me in a way to, what's their motivation? The motivation is to hide their own shit. Unfortunately, it's going to come out one way or another. It's what trials are for.
a criminal trial. And when it does, I really hope that a lot of people get the balls to apologize to the other people that they have harmed, because you're responsible for your own actions as a grown-ass fucking adult. So if you're saying shit to people, you're trying to hurt people, you're trying to insult people, you're doing all that, when you find out the truth, and you will, I really hope that you grow the balls to apologize to those you have hurt. It's really that simple. It's not a hard concept. Most people will just fade off and never say another thing about it after they realize. Some people will say, I'm not going to support that person anymore after learning what I learned. And some people, very small subset of them, will continue making excuses until the cows come home, even when you can't excuse the inexcusable. I can't think of, as a grown adult, a reason why I would need to be told who to like and who not to like. If someone shows you who they are by screaming at your own viewers and telling them that they're not going to unsubscribe, they're going to keep donating you money, and they're going to give you more than $5 because God forbid they give $5. That's not enough in his book. That's showing people exactly who you are. You don't appreciate a thing. And it's unfortunate. Right. I sometimes wonder, what do any of these people, the ones that are really hateful, what's one fucking thing they've done to help someone ever that they didn't benefit from? Just one, to help someone else that they didn't do so they would benefit in some way. I know for some people, they would never do something that didn't benefit them in some way, shape, or form. It's very, very sad. Yeah, well, here, Holly, especially in places like Texas, damn near everyone's walking around with a pistol or a gun in certain states. In my state, not so much. It's not usual to see people carrying, just because they make it so fucking difficult to get your license to carry. But in other states, it's fairly easy. And I mean, especially in places like Texas, somebody's, carrying one everywhere. But I get what you're saying, because in my state, it's not often to see someone besides an officer, carrying. So I get what you mean. I definitely get what you mean. That's for sure. No, not concealed. Not concealed. So that's the thing, like, have a moral fucking compass at some point, right? Like, get a moral compass. People ignore too much their own moral compass. And that's what results in shit like this. The amount of people that have come to me later on and been like, yeah, I can now say, even though I kept vehemently saying it wasn't a cult when I was in it, that it acts like a cult, I can say that that's exactly, it's a mob mentality. It's exactly what happens. Stop being part of a mob mentality, dude. Make your own decisions as a grown adult. Do not let somebody else tell you what you can or can't do, or who you should or shouldn't talk to or be friends with. You're a grown-ass fucking adult. Figure it out. The hate I see on platforms nowadays, including X and YouTube, kind of sucks to watch, because there's so much good that can be done on those platforms when people come together. Like, so much good that can be done, that all of the anger and hate I see just makes that dream of most people starting to work together to help one another sort of become smaller and smaller. The platform used to be a place that was fun, and people interacted, and people got to know one another, and they did all sorts of, open panels, or, going on each other's shows, and that just doesn't happen anymore. It's getting worse and worse, and really just being used to do the bidding of some really angry and unwell people. TikTok's like the only place that I haven't seen turn into an ultimate cesspool at this point. X is a cesspool. The only reason I even keep an X is because I have sources that contact me through there, you know, or I wouldn't have one. And YouTube has been a way to bully other people in the last couple of years. It's like, again, you're a grown adult. You don't have to like someone. Move on. Move on. You don't have to like them. I don't have Blue Sky, although I hear people reference it. I do not have one myself. And then there's Rumble, which I'm not, I have a Rumble account, but don't really use it. So, but, well, I don't think anybody should. But again, you're talking about people who think that by spreading the hate, they're going to gain more audience, therefore gaining more money. And it's unfortunate that sometimes that is true for short periods of time, but that runs out at some point. And then what do you have? A bunch of hateful audience members? Is that what you want, hateful audience members? That's not what I want in the community of people that watch me. I don't want hateful people going after one another for no real reason. I don't want my community turning on each other when another YouTuber tells them to. That's weird. I want them to make connections with other people based on whatever connection they make, whether it's something they have in common with someone, whether it's something, that they both talk about or have a family member they take care of, or they both have a child with special needs, or they both live in the same area, whatever it may be. I want people to make those connections with one another and build a community of people. I do not want them to be like, okay, what do I need to do next? Who do I need to not like next and why? I don't want an audience like that. I don't think anybody should want an audience like that. But as we've seen, that is what's being built in places. Ultimately, those collapse on themselves. Might take a couple of years, but ultimately they just collapse on themselves. It's unfortunate because all of the anger and hate is not only misguided, but take all that anger and hate away, right? And you leave a big space of people who could get involved in their community, could make a difference, could help other people. All of that energy they use, hating, making fun of, insulting other people, they could be using trying to help someone. Yet they choose not to. Why? Why? Most people can't answer that question because they don't know why. They don't know why. They're told to. That's why. Or they were given a dog whistle that told them to. Most of them don't even realize that they're reacting to the dog whistles, which is the whole point of it. It's a coercive tactic. It's a manipulation of sorts to manipulate people into doing things you want them to do. I highly suggest people looking up what coercive control is and what dog whistles are and how they apply when it comes to social media influencers. And we all put our pants on one pant leg at a time, my friend. It's just sad. It's really sad. I think if you want a community full of hate, cool. That's not what I want. That's not what I support in any way, shape, or form. I support people helping one another, doing things in their own communities, or even asking the internet to help them do something good for their community where they are. Using the internet for good, not bad. Using it in a way to help other people heal, not to harm them. Everyone needs to just do better. It's really that simple. Everyone needs to do better. So we don't have shows on Saturdays, but I do have a show tomorrow. And we're going to do a show around 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So be there or be square, my friends. I don't normally do them, but because I've had so much going on with the medical, my family this week, I haven't seen you guys a lot. And so we will have our normal Sunday show, but we will have a special 6 p.m. Saturday show. And I got a lot of good stuff for that show. So I have a lot of work I still need to do for that show, as a matter of fact. And it's been 2 hours and 46 minutes. So I am going to skedaddle and I'm going to go eat because I'm starving like a hostage. I'm going to go have a salad. I'm hungry. But I love your stinking faces. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on your way out, or the share button if you'd like to donate to the channel, even if you're on the replay crew. We just read them the next time, like you did this time. And we rely on you guys to get by as a channel, because we're not a very large channel and we need your help. So if you can, we would really love your help with the donation. We have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. It's all in the description of the video. There's also a link that's also in the description of the video, and it's pinned to the top of the chat. You can use a credit or debit card from multitude of countries for that link. And then we have all these options here. There's a ticker that goes by at the bottom of the screen throughout the entire stream. And again, all of it is in the description of the video as well. But if you do have a second and you have the extra $1 or $2 to spare, I'd ask for your help, because it's been rough lately, guys. And I need a little bit of help here. And I don't normally ask. So I love you guys. And I know I was just buffering. And I will see you guys 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Be there or be square, my friends. I will put up the like thumbnail and stuff by like noontime tomorrow. So you'll see it pop up on YouTube. So make sure you have like your notifications on. And if you don't, and you're not getting the notifications from me, make sure you check where that little bell is on YouTube and you click it down to all, because it's set to most unless you change it. So you'll sometimes get it and sometimes not. But if you click it to all, you'll get it. So I love your stinking faces. I will see you guys at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. You guys can still get in touch with me. Obviously, you guys know how. Discord, X, Facebook, those email, twistedtragedies3@gmail, all easy ways to get in touch with me if you need me for any reason. And all right, I love you guys, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.